friends, or should I say, ciao. For today's video, I was inspired by a comment that I saw on another recent video of mine where someone had asked, hey, you know, why don't you do a update on your experience using Overtone? And I thought, what a great idea that is, because that video, as of right now, has like 32,000 views, which is insane, and I'm so excited that you guys are enjoying it so much. So I thought I would create another video that's quite similar, but also a little bit more educated this time around, because I have used Overtone a few times since then. So I have a little bit more know-how with using it, more experience with how it usually goes for me in terms of like the color lasting, just the process of putting it on and keeping it up. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. We are going to start out by using Overtone on my hair, and I'll just kind of like walk you through my process that I do now, although it's probably not that much different from the first time. I am using a different color this time. I'm going to be using Extreme Magenta, which I'll show you guys here in a second. I've used it once in the past, and it has to be my favorite one that I've tried yet. The first video I tried Extreme Orange. The second time I used it, I tried one called Vibrant Red, which wasn't quite as bright as I wanted it to be, but it was still a nice color change. This time, like I mentioned, I'm going to be using Extreme Magenta, which is a incredibly bright, like fuchsia pink shade, and it makes my hair this really awesome, like rosy pinkish shade of red. Overtone does not lift color, all it does is deposit color. So with my starting color, I'm not gonna get a huge difference, but what it really does is just kind of changes up the tone a little bit. If you had blonde hair, it would completely change the color of your hair. But for me, as you're gonna see in this video, it basically just amplifies the color that I have, makes it a lot more vibrant. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Alright, you have joined me in my bathroom now, which is where I'm going to do this time. Last time I did it in my bedroom. I don't feel like doing that again because I usually do my Overtone hair dye in the bathroom nowadays. I also like to put down towels on the floor just to protect it from any dye that might fling off of my hands. I also have Vasaline here, which I'm going to coat my like whole forehead, ear, neck area in. And lastly, because I don't have any latex wipes, I'm gonna try to put plastic bags on my hands, and I'm gonna tie them up at the wrist with like a hair tie. One last thing that I'm gonna do, which I feel like is gonna be a good idea, the other day I decided to straighten my hair. I don't do that super often, right? And so when I was straightening it, I was like, wow, this is a lot less voluminous than normal. Feels thinner even though it's not, you know? So I felt like if I straighten my hair first before I put the hair dye on it, it might be a little easier to spread than when my hair has its more natural, like kind of fluffy, voluminous, wavy texture. So we're gonna try doing that. That's the only real element of this that's different than what I've usually done with my like Overtone dyeing routine in the past. So we're gonna straighten my hair really quick and then start applying the dye. Hair feels straight enough now. It's still so thick, so I don't know if that really helped, but hopefully it'll make a little bit of a difference. I'm gonna throw on this headband and then put it up in a clip really quick while I slather on the Vaseline. I really just like to get this all over the forehead area, but I try not to get it into the baby hairs because I want those to be pink. Getting the ears is a good choice, and I think I mentioned this earlier, but I just threw on like a black t-shirt, one that I'm not worried about getting anything on. Okay. Now onto the color we're using today. This is Overtone in the shade Extreme Magenta. As I mentioned before, I've used this in the past and I love it. It's my favorite one that I've used so far. It is incredibly pink and I love it. So I'm excited to throw this on my hair. I'm gonna go ahead and just like adhere these trash bags to my hands and then we'll get started. This is my solution to no gloves. Hopefully it works. I'm just going to get my little comb. Somebody made fun of me last time for calling this a little comb because it's literally a massive comb. I also think it's good to try to like squish the hair and like smush it around while you're applying it, kind of like this. Once you're starting to apply the dye, the strands of your hair will kind of start to like clump together and you won't be getting those hairs that are kind of in the middle of that clump of hair. So it's good to try to make sure you're massaging it all the way in. It's also worth noting that this will stain your scalp. For me, it lasted probably like 4 or 5 days until it came off. So if you're going to be doing this, I would suggest trying to avoid the scalp at all costs, but getting as close to it as you can. It obviously comes off eventually, but it's just easier to not have to deal with that. all see that go flying just now? I really hope so. My technique here is I'm trying to put it on the top bit of the root of the hair and then flip it over and get it on the underneath to try to avoid where I'll have streaks kind of near the back that aren't completely coated in the dye, and it's not super noticeable, but you can kind of tell sort of thing. So that's my technique to try to hopefully avoid that. I'm gonna go ahead and section off the other side and then touch up spots where I feel like I need to add more dye once I've done that. Alright, so I don't know if this is good for your hair or if it's absolutely terrible for your hair. It's probably terrible, but I'm doing it anyways because I really don't want to have chunks that are missing color. I'm taking my comb, and basically what I'm doing is I'm brushing through it from the bottom up to separate the strands of hair a little bit, and then I'm going to go back in with pretty much whatever I have left in the jar and deposit that wherever I feel like it needs some more color or where I see strands that are kind of dry. Is where we're at now that I've covered my whole head. I'm gonna take what I have left now and try to deposit it around like the areas of my hair where I know that it's thicker and it might not have deposited as well. So that's gonna be kind of like the back area, like the crown of the head. Okay, hopefully I was as thorough as I needed to be. So now that we have this finished up, I'm gonna let it sit for 15 minutes and just kind of like clean up my area in here, take my little trash bag lobster hands off, and I will catch back up with you before I hop in the shower. Okay, so I'm about to wash this out of my hair. It's definitely been more than 15 minutes because while I had the timer set, I started taking notes for a philosophy lecture and the timer went off and I wasn't done, so I was like, oh well, I'm just gonna sit here for a little bit longer. So it's probably been like 25 minutes at this point, but I'm gonna go ahead and wash it off and then catch back up with you guys in a second. Bless me. I'm gonna be using the Aussie Total Miracle shampoo because it has sulfates in it. The first time that I did this, I used a shampoo that did not have sulfates in it because I don't typically use shampoos that have those, just because it's more gentle on your hair if you don't. But Overtone does have silicone in it, so if you don't use a shampoo that will break down the silicones, which sulfates break down silicones, your hair might end up being a weird texture afterward until you wash it with a shampoo that does have sulfates in it. That happened to me last time and I was like, oh no, is my hair okay? And it was perfectly fine. My hair always feels really healthy and really great after I use Overtone, but I do just have to use a shampoo that will properly break it down and wash it out of my hair. So that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do, and then I'll catch back up with you once my hair is clean. All right, you guys, I am back. I went ahead and threw my makeup on, and this is what my hair color looks like now. It's just been blow dried a little bit, so it is looking a little bit frizzy, but that's pretty normal for me. My hair tends to be frizzy when it still has some moisture in it. I'll show you the color now, but I think I'm also gonna pop in tomorrow when I have more time to answer some of the questions and give a more well-rounded review of Overtone. So for now, I'll just show you this. This is me in front of a ring light and then also in front of my bedroom window. It is quite bright. I absolutely love the color that this turns out to. It feels like a very just vibrant, like feisty red. I will say it dyed my fingernails. They were a shade of pink that was almost the same as my flesh. So that shows you how much it changed them. I must have always been wearing darker fingernail polish when I've done this in the past because I've never had it dye my nail polish before, and this is gel nail polish. It's not like regular nail polish. I was gonna redo them tonight or tomorrow anyways. It's not a big deal, but it did dye my fingernails. To you guys, it's gonna be like half a second. To me, it's probably gonna be like 12 hours because I'm gonna cut the camera off for now and go live the rest of my day and then pick it back up tomorrow and finish this video. So I'll see you guys then. All right, this is round 3 for me filming this part of the video, but let's dive into it. You guys saw me like a half a second ago, but in real time, it has actually been a full week, which I planned on filming the latter half of this earlier on, but then my week got kind of busy, and I also felt like it would be good for you guys to see how my hair looks after a whole week worth of living my life and washing my hair. You saw how vibrant it was when I started out, when I had just washed it, and this is how it's looking 7 whole days later. For the sake of being extra, I thought I would step outside as well and show you what it looks like in direct sunlight because I just don't feel like my lighting inside is really doing it justice or showing it in the same lighting that I showed it originally. So this is what it looks like now, 1 week later in direct sunlight. It definitely still has its rosy tone, but it's not as crazy vibrant, and that vibrance does start to diminish a little bit as time goes on over like the course of a month or so. And that leads me into the like Q&A review portion of this video, where I want to go over some questions that you guys had and some things that I think are good to know about Overtone. First of all, like I was saying, the longevity for me, it lasts about 30 days until the color starts to like really fade, and I like to keep that up by using their daily conditioner. I don't use it daily, but I guess you could if you wanted to. It does a really good job of just depositing that color and freshening it up and making it vibrant again. Another thing I felt like it was important to talk about was staining, because in my experience, during about the first week, once you've dyed your hair, there is still a lot of dye on it. So for me, when I wash my hair and put it up in a towel, the towels that I've used will get stained because, like I've said, your hair is wet. You still got some dye that's like clinging onto your hair, so it will come off onto the towel. And I haven't had this happen because I've purposefully not done this, but I would assume as well, if you were to go to bed with damp or wet hair, it would get on your pillowcase or like your bed and whatnot. So if it were me, I would try not to do that. I try to go to bed with dry-ish hair at least during that first week. A great question that I got was, what shade would I consider the best for natural redheads? And honestly, I feel like it really just depends on what you want to go for. If you wanted to go for a coppery orangey red, I would go extreme orange. I really enjoyed that one for that color. And honestly, that's probably the one that I will purchase next. But if you want to go for a more rosy shade like I have now, I would use extreme magenta or one of the extreme pink shades that they have. Another question I thought was great was, how many jars of the product does it take to cover your hair? You guys can see how long my hair is and how thick it is. For me, I use 1 jar, and that entire thing usually coats my entire head. If you had more hair than me, I would definitely go with 2. If you have less hair than me, you could probably get away with using like half the jar and then saving the rest to touch up the color. One last thing to mention is how Overtone can slightly change the texture of your hair. I know that sounds scary, but it's really not. The mistake that I made at first was using shampoos that don't have sulfates in them to break down the silicones that are in Overtone's conditioner. For anyone who doesn't know anything about silicones and sulfates, silicones are often in conditioners and sulfates are in shampoos. If you don't use a sulfate shampoo, the silicone in your conditioner will not be broken down because sulfates break down silicones. So when I first used Overtone, I washed my hair using a sulfate-free shampoo, and it didn't properly break it down and wash it out of my hair the way that it needed to. And I was left with a little bit of a residue-y feeling. But then once I used a shampoo that could properly wash it out, I was golden. Like, it was perfectly fine after that. So whenever I do my initial wash out of the dye, I will use a shampoo that has sulfates in it to properly cleanse it out, wash it out, break down the silicones. But then after that, you can totally go back to your more natural hair care products if you'd like to. Overall, like I've said probably a million times in this video, I absolutely love Overtone. I totally recommend it to anyone wanting to change up the tone of their hair, and especially for redheads, we're told don't mess with the color of your hair, like never dye it. Overtone is a really safe way to alter your color a little bit but still be a redhead and have your natural color shining through, but just in a more vibrant way. With all that being said, I feel like this video is pretty much wrapped up. If you have any more questions for me, please leave them below. I would love to answer them and chat with you guys more about this product. A really good way to reach me is also on Instagram at mua.lydia. I will leave that link in the description, as well as a list of the products that I use in this video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, ring the little notification bell if you feel like it. I've been posting every Friday for about a month now, and that is my plan going forward, so definitely be sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss a Friday video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys learned something. I hope it was informative for anyone who was wondering about Overtone. That pretty much concludes everything for this video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you on the next one.